locked in.
Look at what we have here, folks.
To the only show that matters.
The cream of the crop.
Duke Loves Rasslin.
And there is no one that does it better than
your host.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
The Duke.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Happy International Duke Day!
Oh, will you please stop it?
Listen, this is like an international holiday.
This
Boston
isn't about
bad
you.
boy.
This is a show that we do.
No,
this
no,
is a
no,
show
no,
that
no.
it's a professional broadcast, and you're talking about your birthday?
It doesn't work that way, pal.
I don't think you know how it works.
We celebrate 12/12.
You celebrate.
No, me and the rest of the world, a.k.a. International Duke Day. It's a great day.
You're
history.
unbelievable.
In history, it's a great day.
Unbelievable.
All right? Listen, I want my presents. Okay? I want my presents.
You don't have any presents.
No, I have plenty of presents.
You don't even have presence of mind to understand that this show really has nothing to do with you.
Okay.
And that I'm locked into I made some deal that went bad at some point in my life, and now I'm stuck here with you.
Best place to be. I'm telling you right now. Well,
No.
What?
No, it's not.
No, it is.
It's not. Not for me, at least, because it's just a struggle. And now you're starting off with this nonsense about International Duke Day.
It's a big day.
Please.
It's a big day. Welcome back to Duke Loves Rasslin. I am the Duke. And yes, I do wish you a happy International Duke Day. And I'm going to keep on doing that no matter what my illustrious co-host, the Boston bad boy, I'm Mike Pelosi, says.
If my math is correct, your birthday has already passed.
Well, but this is the birthday episode.
If my math is correct, I'm actually your elder.
Okay.
So, by all that math, as your elder, I'm telling you this is stupid. Your birthday's already over, and we shouldn't have to deal with any of this. Can't we just do a show that someone might want to listen to, even by accident?
No, we can't.
That's right. Yeah. That's the one thing we can agree on. Nobody wants to listen to this show, not even by accident.
Get out of here, okay? What are the top stories in the world of professional wrestling?
Who cares?
We're going to find out during Run the Ropes. The Boston bad boy has a special guest surprise for us this week.
I can't believe that's you think that I went out of my way.
You're going to do it. You're going to do it. I told you. I've been telling you this for over a month now.
Nope.
You did a good job last year.
I wouldn't even. That was accidental.
You got Conrad Thompson.
Conned me. You conned me into it.
Listen, you better have somebody lined up good for this week, pal. I'm telling you, do not blow this.
Now all of a sudden I booked the guest for
You're
the show.
the
now it's me. All of a
You're
sudden,
the producer.
now I'm the producer.
Don't blow this.
You know, when you screw up guests, it's like, I'm the one that's supposed to. Now I'm the producer. But when you screw something up, it's like everything's okay because you're the one in running the show.
That's right. That's right. Get
so now
used to
I'm
it.
supposed to. You'll get nothing in like it, Spalding.
Listen.
You'll get nothing in like it.
I'm telling you right now, Boston bad boy, do not ruin this for me, okay? Don't do it.
You know, I go through all the inboxes and all the stupid idiot stuff that you've set up for this show.
Oh, boy.
And I have to say, you know what? Maybe I'll cut you a little slack.
Oh.
Maybe I'll cut you a little slack because there were several messages which I thought were really good, appropriate messages for your birthday.
See? Here we go.
So I think for the very least we can just touch upon it, so at least for no other reason than to shut you up.
Okay.
So here's one from one of your loyal listeners.
Duke, this is your favorite listener, Just Larry.
Oh, boy.
Just Larry knows you're celebrating your birthday, so Just Larry's going to sing you a special rendition of a song written, produced, and performed by, you guessed it, Just Larry. And it goes a little something like this. Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns.
I like this.
Roman Reigns.
What the hell is this?
Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns.
I like that.
Duke, remind me to sing you a special copy of that one just because Just Larry knows it's going to be a smash hit. No need to say thanks. Just Larry knows you like it. Peace.
There you go.
All
Just
right,
Larry.
let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Did you honestly just play that nonsense?
Listen, I thought it was very nice. He
On
went out of his
for
way.
my birthday,
He went out of his way to write you a song for your birthday. And I will I will say it's a little pitchy dog, to quote my friend from American Idol. But content-wise, I think that has all the makings of a top 40 hit single.
He just said Roman Reigns like 50 times.
Yeah, but it meant something. You know, there was context, and it was.
Give me a break.
He really
right
did.
now.
You know,
just give me a break.
It was soulful.
This is what it was. This is what this day is going to be like.
I'm just letting you know that was one of the messages that people left for you, and listen, I thought, you know what? Like I said, I'm going to cut you some slack. I'm going to give you these nice
me a
messages
break.
people left, and we'll have some more as the show goes
Just
on.
Larry, much like Roman Reigns, I want you to get out of my life. How about that?
No, you can't, though. He's a listener.
No. All right, look.
You're supposed to let him.
Do me a favor. Do better than that, okay? There's got to be better. We'll talk about it. You can play it later in the show, but you better find something better than that.
No.
You're not going to ruin my International Duke Day episode with nonsense. I'm just going to tell you that right now.
You wanted someone to reach out to you because it was your birthday, and Just Larry did just that.
That's enough of this crap.
So I just think that now you're looking a gift horse in the mouth, and you look like a horse's ass, oddly enough. So you're being rude to people who have taken time out of their day to do something for you, which is stupid anyway, because they should just go on with their lives because they have nothing going on. It's worth pausing
they
for.
They love me, okay? Just understand that. They love me. My loyal listeners.
You're delusional.
Oh.
I think maybe your age is getting to you. And
Is that what it is?
Maybe you're slipping. Maybe you're like the president. It's starting to slip a little
Give
bit.
me a break.
How many fillet of fish do you eat in a week?
Run the ropes. It's time to run the ropes. It's when I get to educate this knucklehead Boston bad boy on the top 5 stories in the world of professional wrestling. Let's go.
No, don't let's go me.
Let's go.
You're talking about birthday. Did you bring any cake?
You don't eat cake.
What do you mean I don't eat cake? I love cake.
Well,
you know I like cake.
Cake is for winners, and I don't know.
Oh, cake is for winners.
That's
Well, that
right.
explain why you've never had cake in your life.
New leadership at Impact Wrestling.
Who cares?
Listen, Wrestling Jay cares about this. He sent me a message telling me, hey, Duke, can you let me know what you think about Scott D'Amore and Don Callis? And I'm like, well, I don't know if anyone cares about this.
No,
Well, he
you know
cares.
what? You're talking about my friend.
Yeah, your friend.
First of all, my friend, no one cares. And secondly, Duke, I don't want to even hear about it because no one cares.
Well,
moving on. Should I hit the bell?
For the record, Scott D'Amore and Don Callis were named executive vice presidents of Impact Wrestling. Do I think that's going to matter? No. I'm a Don Callis guy, and, Scott D'Amore I can take or leave. But, they're really like the picked overs. This is what's left at the grocery store after the sale. You figure that part out, okay? You don't have Bruce Pritchard. You don't have anybody. Dirty Dutch Mantel, Jim Cornette. None of those guys are there anymore. You're just left with Scott D'Amore and Don Callis. And I'm not saying that they don't do a good job. I just don't feel that that's the best effort as far as executive vice presidents that you can come up with. But that's Impact Wrestling. What do you expect? It's a fire sale. Everything must go.
I got to tell you something before we move on. Wrestling Jay, he's a parent. He's a father. He's 2 wonderful children. And like you, he needs to get a life because that was the most boring diatribe I've ever heard on this show, and that's saying a lot.
You're ruining International Duke Day just with your bad attitude.
Well, that makes me feel better. That actually makes me feel better.
See, there it is.
So we'll keep on that track. Keep
Give me
going.
a break. New WWE program. That's right. The WWE is going to have a mixed tag team themed program.
Will this one actually be interesting, unlike anything else they put out?
Well, it's very interesting because you know why? It's going to be on Facebook.
Really?
They're going to air exclusively on Facebook. 20-minute episodes. Men and women from both shows mixed together in matches.
I could see that working, and there's no overhead.
And that's the point.
This is the beginning of the end of cable television, wrestling on cable television.
Yep, they're going to revolutionize everything.
Because why would, I wonder what they're going to make. They can take the advertising revenue with them.
Yes.
And then not have to cut the cable companies in at all.
And that's what they've been doing with the network and all that stuff. So this is
But
another
this is
way
pretty
to do
good because this doesn't even require a network or a website. This is totally on social.
Boom. 20 minutes. 20 minutes. And you get to interact with the wrestlers while this is happening.
It's funny what they said. We've been talking about net neutrality and all that stuff. The funny story is, what has pushed innovation on the internet when it came to broadband streaming, when it came to all these innovations? It was the porn industry.
Absolutely, 100%.
The porn industry had to deliver the content to the internet listener. They just saw it and said, "This is the way it's going to be." They saw the future. Maybe wrestling is hopping on board with that. I mean, I can see where they're going to.
Wasn't far behind.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So they're going to be pushing this whole new internet frontier.
Sure.
And if they go and they can make money at it, see, the bigger companies will say, well, wrestling, whatever.
Sure.
But they'll be watching. And if wrestling can make money off of it, they're going to sort of clear the path. Porn's already doing it.
Yep.
Wrestling is somewhat more acceptable, and we're now taking one step closer to many other companies getting off of other platforms, going strictly on
and
the
you
net.
really want to watch the sports leagues, the NFL, the NBA, the NHL, Major
Absolutely.
League Baseball. They're going to be watching what's happening with this program.
I think that within a generation,
Sure.
sports on broadcast television is going to be
obsolete.
Obsolete.
Yep. Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega beat the heck out of each other.
I wish they'd beat the heck out of you.
Well, I would run, okay? For the record, I would run. But that's right. On 2 separate occasions, these guys have sneak attacked each other. This is all geared towards the Wrestle Kingdom match they're going to have in January. That's going to be a big one. Once again, Chris Jericho, he's claiming he didn't even ask Vince McMahon's approval to go to New Japan Pro Wrestling and wrestle Kenny Omega.
I wouldn't have asked either.
Well, that's just the way it is because
Sometimes
you're a
it's
jerk.
better to get forgiveness than permission.
Yeah.
Which is like when I walk out of this show.
Yeah.
I'm not going to care about your forgiveness or your permission.
Really?
It's just going to be, I'm going to be gone. So you better be careful about that.
I'll sue you.
You wish.
Rich Swan arrested. Oof. This is a bad one, folks. Rich Swan, the 205 Live star, he was arrested and charged with domestic battery. He and his wife got into a little thing in the car, and there were witnesses and the whole 9 yards. WWE suspended him indefinitely.
That's funny.
I know you're going to do this.
That's funny to me.
Yep, indefinitely.
So he's suspended indefinitely pending investigation.
And here's the
probably,
thing.
right?
It doesn't look like he physically harmed her, but she was concerned for her own safety.
That's all it takes. If someone's concerned for their own safety,
Yep.
there's probably a
You
reason.
don't want to wait until something happens.
Well, right.
Sure.
Anyway, so they step ahead on this pending investigation.
Yep.
Yet,
Uh-oh.
so they want to take the high road there. Yet, they have an admitted domestic abuser back on their roster. Twice.
Yep.
You know why? Because she puts asses in seats.
Yeah.
Because she's good to look at.
Yeah.
And I hate to say that it comes down to the basic tenet that sex sells. And if she was a big, brawny man who was frightening and was a domestic abuser, gone, suspended indefinitely. But no, there's still a double standard, and it's disgusting. It's absolutely ridiculous.
I can't deny
it. Makes absolutely no sense.
Yep.
And Vince McMahon should be ashamed of himself for even trying to take a high road or to give the appearance, because everybody knows. It was only a couple of weeks ago, really, a month and a half ago, whatever it was, when she, who shall remain nameless, reappears and just has a career back. What is the consequence there? Go ahead. Because I'm sure you're waiting for your presents from Vince McMahon on your International Duke Day, which aren't
take it
coming.
easy.
So please, defend him.
Well, there's nothing for me to defend in relation to whole.
I didn't think so.
Yeah. I'll say this much, though. I hope Rich Swan and his wife, they get their acts together. If there is a domestic incident, so far it's just an allegation. But if this is true, hey, we don't have any tolerance for that either here. So
I'm starting to think we're the only ones that don't have any tolerance for it.
Well, that's
because
the problem.
everybody else
Yep.
keeps going back and forth because they're money grubbing. They're looking for where the money is. This guy, Swan,
Yep.
I don't know him. He doesn't seem like he's a big-time guy. He's not. She, the one who is now has his job back, big time.
big time.
Big
time.
name. A lot of merchandise already put together.
Yeah.
A lot of promo photos have already been taken. And somebody at the WWE is looking at a ledger somewhere going, we've invested a lot of time and money in this person. Maybe she's a domestic abuser, but it looks good for our bottom line if we bring her back.
Well,
it's disgusting.
If you're going to talk about Rich, we got to talk. He's talking about Paige, everyone. Of course, Boston Bad Boy's talking about Paige.
I wouldn't even utter her name.
Fair enough.
She's no good. The woman's no good.
All right, stop that.
I got to tell you.
Stop that.
She's no good.
Stop that. The number one story in the world of professional wrestling is...
If you say International Duke Day, I'm going to jump over this desk and strangle you.
I wanted to say that.
I'm going to strangle you.
But no, Clash of Champions
Yeah.
is live this Sunday on the WWE Network, and it's in Boston, Massachusetts.
Oh, yes. Here we go.
The Duke will be live and in color, folks, so definitely look out. You are going to see me on TV. You can count on that.
Could you imagine if that was the highlight of anybody's day, seeing you on TV?
It's happened numerous times.
Yeah.
At WWE events. It's happened.
You know what? You know what? You're such a miser. Because I know you. I know what you do,
What
and
do
I know what you do.
Don't start.
I know what you do.
Don't start.
You buy the cheapest ticket in the place.
Okay.
And then you weasel your way down to the front to try and get on television, and it's ridiculous.
Hey, as long as I'm on TV, that's all that matters.
I can't believe your bodyguard puts up with it.
Hey.
I just can't believe it.
She likes VIP.
Do you get her like a nice hot pretzel or something even?
Sure. She loves the pretzel. Loves the pretzel. Always about the pretzel.
She loves the pretzel.
Always about the pretzel.
You know, we can't. Let's not even go down that road.
Listen,
Let's not even go down that road.
at Clash of Champions, I'll go down the list real quick. My picks.
Oh, here we go.
Mojo beats Zack Ryder.
Wait. Before you finish, to our listener or listeners, there may only be one. Please make a note, because I can't be bothered, of Duke's picks, and then send them to me when he's wrong. Okay, so I want to know how much he was wrong, because he's going to try and lie about it when he gets back here.
I'll be 100% right. Don't worry. Bludgeon Brothers beat Breezango. Randy Orton is going to turn on Nakamura, which causes them to lose to Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. That's my prediction there. Rusev Day becomes the new tag team champs for SmackDown. Charlotte beats Natty. Baron Corbin retains his title by beating Rude and Ziggler. And I think AJ Styles is going to beat Jinder, even though I don't want that to happen, but I think that's what's going to happen. Those are my picks, folks, for the Clash of the Champions. You've heard what I think. Now, what do you think? Do you agree with me? Do you think I'm a jerk?
Yep.
Maybe something in between? Head over to Facebook. Head over to Twitter. Type in Duke Loves Rasslin and let me know. I don't like when you say yup.
I think, this might be a good time just to end the show.
No, we're not.
I just think because there's been enough of this International Duke Day.
No.
You gave your picks. Enough. Can we just end it?
Up next, the Boston Bad Boy is going to deliver a fantastic guest.
If that's what you think, I got to run out to like the gas station right now and get you something nice.
What is
Maybe
it
like
that,
a nice Slim Jim or
what
something
is
you
it
can
that Bill
snap
Belichick
into.
says? Do your job.
See, you can do it to a concert and just don't care, but one thing I do care about is Duke's wrestling. And I tell you what, the guy has nothing but love for the business.
Hey, it's Tony Shivani, voice of WCW World Championship Wrestling and co-host of What Happened When with Conrad Thompson. And I'm here to set these slapdicks straight.
Whoa.
If to hear that voice coming out of the headphones and referring to us specifically as slapdicks, that's a very special moment for me.
Oh, yeah. See that?
It's amazing.
You accomplished
I finally
something
accomplished
in life
something
there.
in life.
Wow. Tony Schiavone, the legend. How are you, sir?
Duke, I understand you're an old mofo right now.
Yeah.
So I'd like to say, don't do like I did and soil the carpet on like your 56th birthday. Is what I did. So, which is a legend in my house. But good to be with you and the Boston Bad Boy. It's always great to talk to people about pro wrestling, because now that I've gone back recently, and watched some of the old stuff, man, I've forgotten how some of that stuff was great.
See?
Oh, yeah.
Great to talk to people about the old days. That's what we're going to be talking about. And I guess old is the theme of this show. I'm not sure.
And he's getting older by the minute, Tony.
Yeah.
He's just, I can see him aging in front of my eyes.
You know what, Shivani? Now I know why Bobby the Brain Heenan had a problem with you. I see what's going on here. Yeah, already going down the wrong drain.
Well, let me ask Duke. Let me ask you, how high is your chair? My chair, it's got to be higher.
It is. It definitely is.
Right.
It definitely is.
There's the end of that there. So Tony, first of all, I'll tell you right now, man, it was crazy after all these years of you being away from the pro wrestling business to hear you on a podcast with Conrad Thompson. I mean, it just really blew my mind, especially that very first episode about a year ago now, right?
Yeah, Duke, it'll be, I think it was the week of January 30th, so we're about 2 months away. So, yeah, it was right after the first of the year that we started this. And as a matter of fact, it was around the time of New Year's, the brand new year, when Conrad got in touch with me and said, hey, I got a great idea for you. And I said, what? He said, let's do a wrestling podcast. And I paused for a minute, and then I went, hell no.
That's what I said when Duke asked me to do this show, by the way. And every week I keep saying hell no, but I get dragged back in here.
Right. But then he convinced me, my daughter's getting married, and he convinced me to do it. And, man, it's been wonderful. It's been absolutely wonderful to be able to do this podcast with him, even though he's a redneck from Alabama. And usually I don't get along with rednecks from Alabama, because I've got to make sure to check his family tree to see if he didn't marry his sister, his cousin.
Roll Tide to that, huh? Roll Tide to that. Jesus.
Roll Tide to that. So, but yeah, it's been great. It really has, and I'm blown away by the reception that we've had. And I think a lot of that is not only because we're into a lot of people who grew up in the '90s are into nostalgia. Nostalgia is really big right now with that age group. But I think another reason it's been so good is the fact that, well, I think I'm trying to be a pretty honest person, and I'm talking the way Tony Schiavone would have talked had he been able to back in those years.
And you know what? Speaking of that.
Yeah, I mean, that first podcast that you guys did was sort of the podcast heard around the world in the fact that everyone knew you and loved you growing up on TV, and you come right out of the gate cussing. You're like the Bob Saget of professional wrestling. I mean, it was just like, no one expected it, but it was pretty great if you ask me.
Well, I appreciate that. There have been a number of people on social media that said, you know what? You need to cut down on the cussing. And well, you look, you can't go by what just a couple of people say on social media. But let me tell you this: that I grew up in the mountains of Virginia, and I've been married 36 years, and I've had 5 kids. Mm-hmm. That trio will make you cuss.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And it's scientifically proven that people who cuss are smarter and more trustworthy. I saw it on the internet, so it must be true.
Well, I'm a trustworthy genius because I throw it out. But yeah, it was. I understand though, because I was pretty much the straight man back then, and anybody who really knew me backstage back in those days knew that wasn't really me. So I'm getting to betray it right now and having a great time with it.
That's great.
It's funny though, Tony, because you say that you get a little criticism for that. What is the biggest criticism that you've had in relation to your career in pro wrestling in general there?
Well, the biggest criticism I had, Duke, was that I was an overhyped machine, which is true. At the end of the run at WCW, things were so bad at that time that I thought, what the hell? I'll just go into overhype mode and try to oversell things. I remember back in the day, and I can't remember what it was, but this was very near the end when Bischoff had the brilliant idea to have someone one of our viewers, and I don't know how he was going to do this, would be able to win $1 million.
Oh, boy. Oh.
And that was going to be the big deal. So we were in Miami doing Nitro, and he came back in the announcer's room talking to me, Heenan, and Tenay, and I can't remember who else was back there. And he said, all right, guys, he said, here's what we got for tonight that I want to press upon you, that we're going to start tonight teasing the fact that in the coming weeks we will let you know how you can win $1 million just by watching WCW Monday Nitro. And he said that, and he's waiting for a big reaction. And I said, okay. and he flipped out. That's what I expected from you, Shivani.
Oh, no.
That's the way you're probably going to sell it. And I remember after he walked out, and Heenan and I, we all got a big laugh about how he flipped out on the way I reacted. I remember thinking, okay, all right, you asked for it, buddy. So I spent that entire Nitro, and I'd love to. I'm sure it's on the network somewhere.
Sure.
The entire Nitro. That's all I talked about. That is all I talked about.
Say it, Tony. Say it. The famous catchphrase there.
Yes. We're getting ready to have probably the biggest event in the history of professional wrestling where you can win $1 million. Now, I don't care if Ric Flair has a side headlock on somebody right now or not or whatever. You can win $1 million. And I did it over the top ad nauseum.
At one point, it was $1 million.
Now, so then we go back, and I'm thinking, boy, that was lousy.
Mm.
And we go back, and Eric says, I was wrong. You did great.
Oh, Jesus.
And I'm thinking, wow, he's just completely lost it here now. So, and of course, we didn't last long enough to give anybody else $1 million. We gave plenty of people millions of dollars for no reason, but we didn't give a fan. So that was kind of like one of the overhyped moments I remember. And I remember a lot of it. And I remember, guys, when we first were sold to WWE, and I didn't go to the WWE, and I left wrestling. I remember thinking, I'm going to go back because I got some tape of my stuff. I'm going to go back and see exactly how much I overhyped things. And I remember putting the tape on and going 10 minutes into it and saying, that's enough of that, man. I can't listen to myself.
Oh, no.
But that was back then. But as time heals all, I've gone back and I've, on the network listened to a lot of things. And, some things were really as bad as we thought, and some things weren't as bad as we thought. Some of the stuff you see now on the WWE is just as bad as what we were putting out back in 1999 and 2000.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, you talked about a little bit of that friction towards the end there with the WCW. Now, did that sort of come from those guys that are running it and those guys that are in the ring and not understanding you guys being pros behind the mic and what your job had to be to, they wanted more, and you guys going, hey, listen, we're trying to put a whole show on here, and, that might be too much, and you saying, okay, well, all right, and then you want it, you got it.
Yeah, that was it. I remember a number of times, and I think I've mentioned this on one of our podcasts as well, and this would really make me mad. We were a company that needed Ritalin because we couldn't pay attention to anything.
Couldn't focus.
Sure.
Yep.
No, we couldn't, and there would be a lot of times that I would be calling action in the ring and screaming at the top of my head, and there would be like Terry Taylor, who I remember specifically, but I mean Kevin Sullivan was a part of this too, and there were some other guys. So they would tell me, get more excited, pump it up a little bit more. And then what would happen, I would say something about a wrestler. And Terry Taylor would have dropped his headset in the back there and gone and talked to the next wrestler about his match. And then he would come back and he would put his headset on and he would give me a line to say. Well, a lot of times, guys, that was a line that I just said.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I remember.
Yeah.
I remember.
Boy.
You know what I did? I said it again. And then during the course of the commercial break, I would talk to Terry on the IFB. I said, Terry, I don't mind you producing me. I really don't, but listen to me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's half the battle.
That's what I just said. Yeah. So there was friction. There was, when things start going downhill, everyone starts to come up with their own reason why it's going downhill and their own reason of what they should do, and everybody tightens up. And of course, as I've said before, it was a coffin on roller skates, man.
Sure.
It was here in the end.
Well, what's interesting, Tony, because you weren't one of the people who ended up in the WWE when they bought WCW and what have you there was definitely a period of time where Tony Schiavone was looked upon in a not so positive light.
Yeah.
But then, literally there's been a resurgence within the past 5 years and specifically in the past 2 years. And it coincides with Ric Flair's resurgence as a pop culture icon.
Right.
And what's happening here is that the old Flair interviews from the mid to late 80s and the early 90s and what have you, you were there for most of those. You were conducting those interviews most of the time. So,
Yeah.
And everyone is quoting those interviews and those catchphrases and what have you. And it's like, oh, yeah, there's Tony Schiavone. He was pretty good back then.
Yeah,
Do you feel that your resurgence and history being kind to you now coincides with Ric Flair?
I think that's valid, Duke. First of all, they were never interviews.
That's
I
right.
don't think I asked him anything. I think I just introduced him.
You just held the mic.
Never got an word in edgewise.
That's right.
Exactly.
Don't wrap me up.
But I think that's a valid point. I also think that I think I stayed away from the business long enough, and I think one of the reasons that I was not too liked back there at the end was I was overexposed. You heard me all the time. And if you hear the same announcer doing all the shows, Nitro, Thunder, pay-per-views, whatever, it's just too much. And, I'm doing some stuff with MLW now. We've got another one of their shows coming up on the 7th of December. And it's once a month. I don't mind doing that now and then, but I do not want to go back and do all the stuff I was doing back in the WCW days. I think that people were sick and tired of hearing me. And, of course, the overhype. But I agree that, the resurgence of Flair, and, again, it goes back to this, too. Guys who watched the stuff and were younger back in the 80s and 90s, they're big in nostalgia right now. I don't know if you guys have seen that, Nintendo has come out with a Super NES.
Yep, sure.
And the original Nintendo, right, that is preloaded with all these games.
Mm-hmm. $80.
You can't find those anywhere.
Nope.
They're gone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same people. They're into nostalgia. I remember Legend of Zelda. I remember Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. I remember the video game.
You're a gamer.
Yeah, Tony, you a gamer back in the day? Are you still a gamer?
Oh, yes, I was.
Really?
Yes, I was.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, I beat Super Mario 2. I beat it like at 2 o'clock in the morning. I woke up all my sons and told them, "Hey, I just beat Super Mario 2."
That was the hardest game ever made.
Oh my God.
Yes, I know you had to pick up those mushrooms.
Oh my God! Yeah, the radishes, and then it was insane, absolutely insane.
Absolutely. So yeah, I was a big time gamer back then with my kids, and now I just now I'm old and decrepit, and I don't have time for it.
You're not really into Call of Duty or anything like that.
Uh-oh.
Not hooking up with your friends and putting the headset on.
What? That Call of Duty World War II looks pretty good.
I know, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
Yes, it does. Although I saw where it had a zombies mode.
Uh-oh.
And I'm thinking, now, where in the hell was there a zombie in World War II?
Yeah, a little creative license there.
Right. But that looks pretty good. But no, I haven't. The last PlayStation I bought for my kids was PlayStation 2.
Oh, okay, so that's going back a bit.
There were still some WCW games for that.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I was the character you could unlock.
Yep.
I was going to say, did you do any voice work for video games ever?
Oh, yes, I did. As a matter of fact, I am very proud to say, and I spent a lot of money because I had 4 sons growing up. I spent a lot of money on video games throughout the years for Christmas, and not only video games, but units and controllers, and whatever. But thanks to my work with EA Sports, I made more money off the video game market than I paid in.
That's great.
That's awesome.
So,
That's
I'm
awesome.
very happy about
Not many
that.
people can say that.
We're talking to the voice of WCW and co-host of What Happened When Monday, Tony Schiavone.
So, Tony, I want to circle back real quick to these old promos, like working with Flair and those guys back in the 80s. 2 questions I have. The first one is, did you ever get scared when one of these guys built up a head of steam and they're coming at you and you're the straight guy? Everyone's a professional, but did you ever wonder, is this going to go off the rails?
No, not really, because I knew I knew that we were all kind of teammates.
Right.
If that makes any sense to you. Now, there was one time where, and he still talks about it when I see him, and I haven't seen him since the summer. But there was one time when Abdullah the Butcher was eating my tie, and
I remember
they were doing
that.
a promo, and he had my tie in his mouth, and he kept chomping and chomping and chomping.
Yes.
And I remember thinking, I think it was Paul Jones doing the talking at that time. I was thinking, holding the microphone, I hope Paul Jones finishes before
He gets
to my
to the end of the tie.
I have no idea where we're going to go with it.
So when you're doing those things, though, those were like, that's just bread and butter work for you. You're doing all those promos. Did you think that they were going to resurface on YouTube 30 years later? I mean, when you're doing them, it's just pretty much, what's your feeling there?
Well, I'm feeling that the only way I'm going to relive these moments would be if I would videotape these, and that would be it. But I mean, look at what's out there now and how you can access things now. That's the thing, guys. If you think about this, that is the thing where Turner Broadcasting or Time Warner, AOL, or that's where they really screwed up big time.
Big time. Big time.
Big time. They had that library, and even if they didn't want to do wrestling, they could have still be making money off of it. But no, they were stupid.
Yep.
And I guess Jamie Kellner was the man who gave it all away. And if anybody in the world would hire Jamie Kellner they would be the biggest idiot in the world.
Whoa, hot take.
How can you? That's throwing away money. That's not being able to sit down as a leader of a broadcast company, being able to sit down and realize what the future holds. You got to be able to do that, so they missed it big time there. So I never thought that it would come to this, and I'm very happy to say that when Conrad and I do a show like for Halloween Havoc '95 or '97. I understand the network spikes on those shows.
Yeah, they do. They do. They do get more hits because people go to the network to watch as you go along there. You're speaking about a company that dropped the ball with that videotape library, and ultimately that's why WCW went down the drain. These poor business decisions there. But a company that didn't drop the ball was the World Wrestling Federation, which we all know is the WWE today. You actually spent a brief period of time over there.
Yeah.
What was the main difference between WWE and Jim Crockett Promotions and WCW, which really you can lump those two together? What was the main difference between the two entities there?
Well, the main difference, Duke, is that WWE wrestling is what they did, and they knew how to spend money the right way, and they were a big time business. Jim Crockett Promotions was a mom and pop's operation. It's like a mom and pop's restaurant trying to compete with a big chain, and they just can't do it. I always thought, and I still think to the day, that the reason that he won the war was his television. Well, there were many reasons, but I have a wrestling show on 92.9 The Game on Wednesdays in Atlanta, and someone called in the other night and said, could anyone compete? Do you think anyone can compete with the WWE? And I said, no, they couldn't, because his television show looks better than anything else. If you don't have a television show that has the production value that he has, you can't compete with him, because anything else looks like a small-time operation.
That's right.
So
that's what happened back then. That's why he got all those TV clearances back in the 80s, because his show looked better than anybody else.
That's right.
It looked better than Jim Crockett Promotions. It looked better than Bob Geigels out of Kansas City. It looked better than Championship Wrestling from Florida. It looked better, and television television program directors wanted his show. And you got to have a good product. I understand that, but you got to have a good look too. And unless people are willing to spend the money for the good look, then you're not going to get it. We did in WCW back in the heyday. We had a pretty good-looking show as well. But you can't tell me now that anything that Ring of Honor puts out or Impact Wrestling puts out looks better than what Vince puts out. So I don't think you can. And I know I'm getting off on a tangent here. I don't think you can have anything that competes with them, because he knows how to spend money on production. And back then, that's what I found out. When I went to work for the WWE in 1989, I went, holy smokes. So this is how it's really done. And we had post-production, we had edits, it was tremendous.
That's pretty incredible. I mean, I'm pretty outspoken against Vince McMahon, but I will give him credit for doing that. And I'm always interested in talking with people who have actually spoken to the man, because I haven't spoken to him.
Well, he's a good friend of mine, though.
Duke claims, Duke claims he's friends with Vince. I know it's not true. Tony, I know you've worked with the guy. You know him. What's he like? What is this guy like when you're working with him?
Well, let me say this. I liked him a lot.
See? Thank you, Tony.
Okay. But I was only there for a year, so it could have changed.
Sure.
But he was good to me. He was good to me, and Linda was good to me. And I bring up the story all the time that after I basically walked on him, and that was in April of 1990. My mother passed away in July of 1990. And we got in the mail this leather-bound certificate of the Catholic Church saying a prayer for my mom.
Wow.
And those things cost a lot of money in the Catholic Church.
Absolutely.
And I never called Linda or Vince to tell them that my mom passed away.
They just knew.
And they just knew. I mean, of course, word gets around, but that meant a lot. And when I left, when I left Vince, and that last interview, or not the last interview, but when I went to him and said I was leaving, I remember him saying, he said, "Do you think that Turner Broadcasting is going to care about your family and take care of your family like we do?" And I said, "No, I don't."
Wow.
And I was right, because it was very much a family atmosphere there. And so, Duke, I'm with you, man. I've always liked the guy, and I've always had a fond place in my heart for him. And I still say, I say this on our podcast, and Conrad always saying, "You're angling for a job."
Uh-oh.
Sucking up to Vince.
I don't know what Duke is angling for. No one's ever going to give him a job in
Vince
pro
is a
wrestling.
good friend of mine. Stop.
Yeah.
But I'm still saying it is, of all the years, and I love the Crockett's. They meant so much to me, and I had some great years financially in WCW. That one year in the WWF back then was my finest year in pro wrestling, the one where I learned more about wrestling and about television production, and one where I enjoyed working more than any time ever.
See?
Well, you know, I will give credit where credit is due. And on McMahon's part, that was a classy move, taking care of the family and reaching out. So for tonight only, because of Tony, I'm gonna mitigate my war on Vince McMahon.
Good job, Boston Bad Boy. Good job. Jeez.
So Tony, there's this famous moment in wrestling lore, and it's considered like the major turning point for WWE beating the WCW, and then WCW ultimately going out of business. And I think you know where I'm headed here. It's during Monday Night Show. You let fly that Raw was taped and Mick Foley won the championship, and you uttered the famous line,
"Yeah,
that'll put butts in seats." I'm not even going to attempt to do it like you. So how often do people say that to you, bring it up, and have you ever spoken to Mick Foley about it?
Oh yeah, I spoke to Mick a couple of days later.
Oh really?
About it. Yeah, I called him and told him. Well, first of all, I told him, and I know he's talked about it, and I've talked about it, and of course it's been years ago, so you remember things. But I remember saying when he picked up the phone, Mick, you really don't think that I meant that. In other words, I know everything's a work, and I'm doing what they tell me to do.
Mm-hmm.
So don't get pissed off at me for doing this.
Damn right.
And he said, well, yeah, I kind of did. And I said, well, I'm sorry if you did. But, you know, I mean, that's the blood's been spilled now. But I did talk to him the following couple of days later. Can't remember when that was. Maybe it was on a Wednesday or so. And we saw each other. I was at WrestleCon down in Orlando at WrestleMania this past April. And I went, I can't remember why I was there, at the WWE hotel, but I was walking out and he was walking in, as fate would have it. And I walked up to him, I said, "Hey, longtime fan." Stuck my hand out, and he looked at me, and he went, "Oh, my God." And so we stood there, and we talked, and we didn't talk about that at all, but we have talked since then. I mean, come on, guys. He's really one of the greatest performers that we've had as far as being able to talk, being able to work, and being able to do crazy stuff that no one else in their right mind would do.
And that call for you to make that came down from above you. That's above your pay grade, right?
Well, yeah, it is. Now, there's been rumors out there that says that Eric told me to say that. Eric did not tell me to say that. Eric had one of his producers walk out. I never will forget it. Her name is Annette Yoder, and she walked out, and she called me. She kind of did that. I took my headset off, and I leaned over. She said, "Mick Foley just won their world title, or is going to win their world title or something, and Eric wants you to really bury it."
Wow.
And I said, Are you serious? She said, "Yeah." And I said, "Okay." I put the headset on, and I came up with butts in the seats. So I came up with the butts in the seats. I didn't get it directly from Eric, but I got it from one of his stooges, and so I know he sent her out there to do it. So here's the deal: if people want to say that I'm the one that turned the tide, okay, then thank you very much. I really appreciate you thinking that I had that much stroke in wrestling.
Damn right.
Okay.
Well, I'll tell you how much stroke you have there, Shivani. That butts in seats, there's a photo of you that's probably a top 5 pro wrestling meme with the caption, "That'll put butts in seats."
You're a meme,
people,
Tony.
Literally, and people use that thing every single day to talk about anything. But it's such a, I'm going to send it to you later, too. It's such a famous meme. If you only knew. Here we are 20 years later.
If you could only get a nickel for every meme that had your face on it.
You'd be all right.
Well, here's what I got to say about that, too. Not the meme, but about the moment, okay? People will remember where they were. People will remember what I said.
Fact.
People will remember what happened. But you can't tell me who won the last match on Raw on Monday, can you?
The man's got a point.
Hot take.
Okay.
So, Tony, you went through so much, especially with WCW closing, and basically that was the end of your wrestling career.
Right.
I mean, you made some small-time appearances. I know the TNA thing and what have you there. But your family has been with you throughout this whole transition.
Right.
So when you were on top of the world, when the company closed and you had to go back to, doing your normal radio duties with sports radio, which you never really stopped doing. And now here you are where you're doing the wrestling podcast and you're doing the MLW stuff now as well with commentating again. How's your family taking you getting back into pro wrestling?
Well, it's a different dynamic now, Duke, because when wrestling stopped in my life, it was a very inopportune time because I still had kids in school. My son, Matt, my oldest son, who now works for Fox News in New York City, was a senior in high school. So below him, we had my daughter, and then my son and my twin boys. My son, Chris, twin boys, they were in middle school. So, that's the time where, your expenses are really high. So it was inopportune for me financially to lose wrestling. But now, fast forward here, all the kids are out of the house. It's just me and I'll think of her name in a minute. It's just me and my wife, Lois. And we got 4 dogs. But the boys are so excited about it.
Great.
They were wrestling. They all listened to the podcast. And my daughter, who's the one getting married in March, she called me the other day. She said, "Dad, I was listening to one of the podcasts because Chris told me to," and I said, "Stop right there."
Yep. Don't do it again.
Do not listen to my podcast.
Tommy Young. Yeah.
She said, "Well," she said, I found it very interesting. I said, "I bet you did."
Yeah.
Okay. So they're into what I'm doing now, big time, and they're very excited about it. When MLW came out with their event, which was back, a couple months ago that we did, and it was called MLW One Shot, and I did the commentary with Rich Bocchini. Everybody thought I was getting back into wrestling.
Yeah. Oh,
My sons were calling me, and the people I work with at the radio station says, "When you leaving?" I said, "What?" I said, "I'm
pushing you out.
One-shot deal. Okay, I'm not going anywhere. I love what I'm doing." So very happy that I'm back into it. But I have stayed so busy that it's kind of like it was no big deal with the family. It really was.
Well, you're a survivor, Tony. That's one thing we know about you, brother. We're going to throw out some rapid-fire questions for you. Just tell us whatever comes to mind when we throw these things at you.
You got it.
All right. Is your wife Lois drunk right now?
No.
If Lois gave you a one-night pass, who gets the button on a fur coat, Medusa or Deborah McMichael?
It's Medusa.
Wow, wait, hold on. Let me stop you for 1 second. Why is it the lovely, legendary Medusa?
Well, because she would probably end up at the end beating me up too, which I might like.
That might be extra.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It would be a figure 1 leg lock.
Nice. You know what? Speaking of that call there, our buddy Lavelle Porter, who's with WrestleZone, he wants to know, what the heck is a back leg front kick?
Okay, that is an Eric Bischoffism. Okay, that is one of those things where Eric would used to say to me, "You need to learn the karate and and moves, and I said, okay, sure, I'll learn them, whatever. And it's where a guy would be standing with a leg up front and a leg in the back, and he would use his back leg to kick in the front.
Okay.
So back leg, front kick.
You know,
seems like it's over-explained.
I thought that was a rib when he told me to ask you that question. I can't believe there's an answer for that question.
No, there really is a back leg front kick, but hey, guys, just think. It's nothing difficult. Using the back leg to get to the front.
Listen, you're asking a lot for this
I
crew
know,
to think,
yeah,
first of all.
seriously here. Come on, Shivani.
All right, next hot question. Here we go. Does Ric Flair really have a baby's arm holding an apple?
Boy, I don't know if he does now at age 68. It could be down below the kneecap right now. But he had it back then. It was incredible. It was like every time you saw it, it would like you would gasp, and then you would say, I've seen that before.
It was always out.
Yeah, like how can I miss you if you won't go away?
Yeah, exactly. Finally, Shivani.
Yeah.
If you were in charge of this, right?
Yeah.
How would Tony Schiavone prefer wrestling fans to remember you?
Well, if we're doing rapid fire, I have to think about that. I think I would prefer them to remember me as one of them before I started working, because I was, and I was a big fan of wrestling back in the 70s, and when I was growing up, and I felt like I was one of them, and that's why I respected the business so much through the years when I was doing it. When Jim Crockett told me when they first smartened me up, what you see back here stays here, I believed it. Because I thought, man, I'm privileged to be able to go backstage and get to know these guys and be a part of this team. So I think that's what I want them to remember me by, being one of them before I got into TV.
You know, Boston Bad Boy.
Oh, huh?
I got it. I got to admit it. I got to admit it.
You don't deserve it, but you got it.
You outdid yourself.
Well, there you go.
I told you I wanted a guest. I was hoping for Ric Flair.
Take it easy.
But you gave me Tony Schiavone.
Well, I got to say, that was just light work.
Oh, my God.
Imagine if I cared about you at all on this show.
Yeah.
Imagine who we'd have on here.
Can you imagine? Maybe my best friend Vince McMahon would be on the show.
No, never. Never.
That's next.
I wouldn't allow him.
Either Ric Flair or Vince, okay?
You better take it easy.
The bar is set high, pal.
Easy.
So you better start planning now, okay?
Let me just tell you something. Tony was great.
Oh, he was amazing.
Tony's a guy even I care about because that's, again, my childhood.
Sure.
Can we end the show now?
Oh no!
It's got to be
going.
It's got to be midnight somewhere.
No.
This International Duke Day of nonsense is over already.
I saw the voicemail box; it's full. So there's got to be some good voicemails in there for me, wishing me a happy International Duke Day. So let's take a quick break, and then I want to.
Are you sure you want to go there?
No, I want good ones, not the nonsense like you were playing earlier. I want good ones.
Okay.
Here. All right.
You know what? I'll give you a couple of good ones.
This is Scoot Andrews, the Black Nature Boy, and you're listening to Duke Loves Rasslin.
All right, Boston Bad Boy. So far, you've redeemed yourself. You gave me Tony Schiavone, which, again, soundtrack of my life, his voice, calling wrestling matches, all those great interviews with Ric Flair. Oh, my goodness. And he broke some good news on there, too.
Yeah.
So now, what I want from you is some solid voicemails wishing the Duke a happy International Duke Day. I know there's got to be some in there. There's no way that it's just a bunch of nonsense like what you were playing before. Don't cherry pick. Play the good stuff.
All right. Then you're ready, though.
I'm ready.
You're going to accept what comes down the pipe.
I want my flowers while I'm still breathing. Let's go.
Which may not be long. All right, here we go. Let's, you know what? We'll just find out who they are. I'm not even going to preface them.
Okay.
Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Big Sam, and I'm here to wish Duke a happy birthday. He might not have the best knowledge of politics. Maybe he slacks a little bit when he comes to talking about pro wrestling. But the biggest time he was an idiot is when he asked me to speak to the Queen about getting him knighted. She doesn't even bloody know who you are, mate. Anyway, have a great day. Cheerio.
Okay. All right.
Now, I got to listen. I love the British. They have my sense of humor. And the fact that they're so good at shitting on people really translates well to shitting on you.
Listen, Big Sam, and I don't care how big and how bad you are, he has the move, the Big Sam bomb, by the way, which he drops people on their head, basically.
Maybe he could give you that for your
Well, I'm just going to tell him right now, the Queen absolutely knows who I am, and I think it's a disgrace that you would even claim that she doesn't know who I am. So you let her know that the Duke is ready to be knighted.
It sounds like you hang out,
Sir Duke.
It sounds like you hang out with a lot of queens. You seem like you have a lot of knowledge about what's going on.
That's
here.
right. I do. I do. Are you going to play something worth listening to?
Well,
Jesus. Big Sam, I'm disappointed in you, by the way.
Well, listen, you're asking for people to be nice to you when, in fact, nobody likes you.
That's
so
not true.
How do you expect this to go?
Play something
Honestly,
decent.
how do you expect this to go?
Play something decent. I don't listen, Boston Bad Boy. Seriously, play something decent.
So it's the Duke of Wrestling roast, and we're here with the Big Vito brand.
What roast?
Can't believe I'm actually going to do a roast about the host who knows the most.
Now, I just got to say, where would Vito get the idea that there's a roast happening?
Yeah, where?
It's amazing, isn't it?
And how come I wasn't notified of this? Roast?
You're notified now.
And that's myself, the Big Vito brand. You know, Duke talks a big game and how he knows about all these intellectual, stimulating things, and he's into the politics, and he knows about broadcasting. But what does he really know? Absolutely zero.
Give me a break.
Ask him to put out an article, takes him 5 weeks. Ask him to put out something in the mail, takes him 6 weeks. Ask him to write you back an email, takes him 7 weeks. You know why? Because he can't do nothing. He's one of the most utterly disgusting, most bullshittingest people in the wrestling industry that you ever want to hear from, and it's the Duke of Wrestling.
I just don't even know what to say to that.
Well, the best part is he's not done.
Why? Because he's the Duke of Bullshit. That's right. Duke of Wrestling equals the Duke of Bullshit because nothing he says is relevant.
All right, that's enough of
He also says that his favorite guy and his favorite man in the business is Meltzer. I mean, you can't get any higher than that, can you?
Look at that. Big Vito, he's getting his nails done, and he made the time to lay it all out for you.
You know?
I'm really starting to actually, you know what? I'm really starting to like International Duke Day.
Stop that.
We should do this once a week.
You put them up to this crap, and I'm going to tell you something
Absolutely
right now.
Not. How dare I don't have to sit here and take this.
No, you set this up.
I don't have to sit here and take this as you besmirch my good name.
You set this up.
You forced me to do this third segment of the show tonight so that you could hear the voicemails that people left for you on your birthday.
There's
and guess
no
what?
way.
Enjoy your poison.
No, there's
As
no way.
one of our good friends likes to
Danny
say,
Cage.
Enjoy your poison,
There's
my
no
friend.
way Big Vito would bury me like that. There's
You
no
heard
way.
it.
I don't want to believe
What
it.
did I do? An impression of him?
Well, I
that
don't
was
know.
him.
I'm going to talk
That
to
was
him
him.
about this, though. But don't worry, because I'm a little afraid of him because he's bigger than me.
Well,
but
should be.
Still, I'm going to talk to him about this. Because there's no way he buried me like that.
All right, well, let's just move on then.
How could he accuse me of saying that Dave Meltzer is my biggest guy? That's not true, you know.
Well, I don't know.
That's not true.
Rumor gets around, I guess.
I'm sick of it. Do you have anything good? Because I'm going to cut this off right now. I'm sick of this.
Let's see what we got here.
Hi, this is Noel Harlow LoGrasso, the fairest podcaster of them
There we
all.
go.
And I want to wish Duke a happy birthday.
Yes.
I'm not sure why. He's kind of a dork, kind of a nerd, hangs out with Vito. That says a lot for his personality. Heard he's a Meltzer fan.
Wait a minute.
Again with the Meltzer stuff.
She not only buried you, she buried her own husband. You got thrown out like the dirty laundry.
But, I mean, I guess that's okay if you like that sort of nerdy Mark kind of thing. But anyway,
me a Mark.
Happy birthday, Duke. I hope you don't get a paper cut and pour lemon juice in it.
Wow.
Have a nice
Jesus.
day.
Look at that.
That's brutal.
You know what it was? She led you down the primrose path, then she took a turn.
Oh, my God.
Which I applaud, by the way. That was masterful.
I don't think I want to hear any more.
That was that. Well, the problem is you insisted that we do this.
No,
so
I take it back.
No, you can't. You know why? It's International Duke Day.
Oh, stop
You
it.
can't
Wait,
just
you're
stop
making
it.
the stupid face on your
You
food.
You can't stop it now.
No.
The momentum is too
play
big.
something that's decent.
Well, I think they've all been decent, so I think you should stop insulting our listeners who have took time out of their day.
Duke! This is international wrestling star Tyra Russamee. I'm taking a break from rearranging pretty faces from all over Asia and just want to let you know that I have a little special birthday surprise for you.
Yes.
The next time I'm in the United States, I'm going to kick your ass. See you soon. Ta-ta.
She called in from Singapore.
Hold on a second.
She called in from Singapore to straighten you out.
So
if that's not love, I don't know what is.
Her surprise is that she's going to beat me up?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what I found out recently, but I think it was mentioned before, but and it made me laugh actually to myself. Her signature move, the Singapore Sling. It's a great gimmick.
Yeah, well, it's not great if she's going to do it to me.
So here's what this is going to happen, and this is called synergy. So follow me here. The next time she's in the United States, we're all gonna hang out.
No,
she's gonna give you the Singapore Sling, and I'm gonna watch you get your neck broken while I'm drinking a Singapore Sling.
Oh, whoa.
Won't that be great?
Unbelievable.
And that will be known as International Boston Bad Boy Day.
Oh, okay.
Are you happy?
Right. Well,
are you happy now?
You know
you
what?
had your little voicemails. Can we end this show,
yeah,
please?
I'm done. Thank you to Tony Shivani for joining us this week. It was a great episode with Tony, but other than that, I don't know what's going on. Where's my music?
What music?
The music so we can get out of this thing. I'm done.
Oh, well, I didn't know.
I'm pressing the damn button and the music is not coming on. Where's the music?
I didn't know if you knew this, but it's International Duke Day, and on special days, we end with special music. So if I could get my good friend Larry, take it away.
Roman Reigns.
No.
Roman Reigns.
It's a new hit single.
Roman Reigns.